There are now just 15 days until the polls close for New York State elections, and this year the stakes are the highest for the state Senate. Republicans are hoping to regain full control in this blue state, and they seem to be gaining ground in key races. But there are so many factors, including indictments and conferencing and who's going to lead which conference and who's going to sit with which conference. It's very confusing. So joining me now to talk about the latest developments is Senator Cathy Young. She chairs the Senate Republican Campaign Committee, and she is kind enough to join us here on Capitol Tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
So we have said on this show, with various iterations of guests, that there is a path to victory for the Senate Republicans, albeit a narrow one. You can't make any mistakes. You guys have to execute perfectly.
Well, we feel extremely confident that we will be victorious. We're going to take back the full majority in the Senate. And you know, Liz, it's because we have such excellent candidates, and our candidates are in touch with their districts. They care about the things that their constituents want, and you see the other side, and they seem to be out of touch. So I feel very, very good that we not only will win all the seats that are open right now, but we will take the full majority back.
So let's start, if you wouldn't mind, in Western New York, because that, in our viewership, is sort of the most confusing situation. It's a four-way race. The Senate Republicans are indeed supporting your colleague, Senator Grisanti. Is that correct?
Senator Skelos made it very clear that he's supporting Senator Grisanti, but we cannot let Mark Panepinto be elected to the Senate. You know, it's interesting, on our side, we have two decorated war heroes running. On the Democrat side, they have two convicted criminals. One of them is Mark Panepinto, who was convicted several years ago of serious crimes. That's what the judge said. And it's basically for election fraud. So he was forging signatures of deceased people, and people who are so disabled that they could not even write. And you know, that's the last thing that we need here in Albany, obviously.
He has been on the show, and he said he made a mistake. He's paid the price. He lost his license, his law license, did he, or not?
Suspended,
he
yes.
He did, okay. And then he's got it back, obviously. And you know, he basically says, I'm entitled to a second chance. I mean, do you not believe that a person can come back and do good for society?
I think that you have to look at fitness for public office, and fitness for public office should actually absolutely include not being convicted of a serious crime. Here's somebody who has been associated with organizations that are affiliated with racketeering. He also had some other allegations against him that have to do with more election fraud. So it seems to be a pattern of abuse that this individual has, and so we have to make sure that he's not elected to the state Senate.
This puts you in a weird position, though, because, well, I mean, you're running these ads not for the Republican candidate, who's Kevin Stocker, not for Mark Grisanti, who's your own colleague, who's running on the Independence Party line, against a Democrat, at a time when another colleague of yours has been indicted, and he's running, and that's Senator Libous in Central New York.
So, you know, as I said, Mark Panepinto cannot be elected to the Senate, and he's convicted.
Yeah,
and there's
true.
a big difference between being indicted and being convicted. So that's number one. But number two, you know, Senator Grisanti has done an excellent job for Western New York. We used to tease him all the time because all we heard about was UB 2020, and he was pushing that, and that was all technological advancements and job growth for Western New York. Kevin Stocker is running. If Kevin Stocker wins, we certainly would want to work with him also, but the bottom line is Mark Panepinto is not fit for public office.
And you believe that Senator Libous is actually going to be reelected? You don't think he's in any danger?
Without a doubt. He's very popular in his district. He's done an excellent job for his constituents. People know him, they trust him, they like him. And so I think that he will win on Election Day.
There's a number of races in which the Women's Equality Act is sort of key. It's a wedge issue, obviously. And just to be clear, in case people don't know, the Senate did pass 9 of the 10, right?
That's very right.
Planks.
Yes.
The one that is the problem is the abortion rights plank. But instead, you're seeing all this mail and ads that the Democrats are running that say so-and-so Republican candidate is against women's rights, when the reality is that that person may actually support 9 of the 10 planks, right? Okay. But the abortion rights plank is certainly a wedge issue, and the governor is really hammering it. What are you experiencing? I know you can't share all the internal polling, obviously, or your strategy, but is that moving voters? Are you seeing that move voters?
Well, all of our candidates, as you know, fully support women's equality. They are fully supportive of equal pay for equal work for women, domestic violence protections, human trafficking protections, all the things, the 9 planks of the women's equality agenda. The one plank that they're not in favor with is the 10th plank that has to do with allowing non-doctors to perform abortions and allowing abortions during all 9 months of pregnancy up until the moment of birth. And when you go out and you talk to people about that 10th plank, they are very against it. Even liberal women are against that 10th plank, because this isn't about pro-life or pro-choice. This is about pro-women's health. And that's what our candidates are in favor of, protecting women's health.
But the governor has created the Women's Equality Party, and he's going around the state and he's sort of trying to get people to vote for him in that party.
You know, it's a political ploy. This is being used politically, and even Assemblywoman Amy Pollin said at the end of session this past year that they want to keep that 10th plank as a political wedge issue. And I think that it's very disingenuous, actually untruthful, for people to say that our candidates are not in favor of women's equality, equal pay for women. They absolutely are, and if they say they're not, that's not right line.
So is the governor, do you think it's inappropriate for the governor to be creating this special party for women?
I think that the governor needs to do what he feels is necessary, but what I'm saying is that all of our candidates are very much in favor of equal pay for women and all the other of the planks, except for the 10th.
Do you worry at all that this is going to be such a low turnout race? I mean, Rob Astorino, who's the Republican candidate for governor, isn't doing terribly well in the polls. There's not sort of a huge sort of excitement behind his candidacy, in part because he has a lot of trouble fundraising. Your candidates are not running to support him. I mean, they have their own races, understood, but you know, a low turnout could really be problematic, and particularly in some of these contentious races.
I think that the turnout on our side is going to be very energized when you look at the different issues, and people are very much in favor of our Senate candidates. You saw the Siena polls that came out a couple of weeks ago, and all of our candidates that they polled were in double-digit leads. So they're generating a lot of excitement across the state. People are very supportive, and you know, I think that the issues they're talking about, as I said earlier, are resounding with voters. I mean, people want to make sure that the property tax cap is left in place, for example. When you look at the radical agenda of the Working Families Party, the things they want to do, they want to get rid of the property tax cap. They want to give voting rights to people who are here illegally. They want to give welfare to people who are here illegally. They want to give free college tuition to people who are here illegally. And when people understand, the voters understand that, they get very upset, because this is, number one, a fairness issue. People feel like they're scrimping and saving to send their children to college. These students are getting out of college, and they have these crushing student debt loans that they have to pay.
Is free college tuition that the DREAM Act that you're referring to?
Yes.
Because it doesn't do that, I think. I thought that, I mean, well, it's two pieces. It does give access to TAP, to state funds, but not
which is
free.
Well, it's free. If you get TAP, then you're getting college tuition paid for.
Well, some of it, I mean, ostensibly, right?
Right.
But not totally
But
free.
people feel like, you know, that they can't qualify for that in many cases. And these kids are getting out of college, and they have this crushing debt. My own children, 3 children, have crushing debt right now because of school loans. So there's that issue, and you look at what the Democrats did the last time they were in power, and you know, the MTA payroll tax took away the star rebate checks, $14 billion in tax hikes, $14 billion in irresponsible spending. I mean, that's their record. They can't run away from it.
We're almost out of time. I'm just curious, has Dean Skelos or even yourself or anybody from the Senate leadership team on the Republican side been in touch with the IDC and Jeff Klein? I mean, do you believe, and I've seen some senators suggesting that they're going to come back and actually restrike their power sharing agreement with you, despite the fact that they've promised to go back to the Democrats.
Here's my take on it, Liz. I am without a doubt convinced that the Senate Republicans will take back the full majority in the Senate.
They won't need the IDC then.
Well, you know, we like to work in a bipartisan manner. We will reach across party lines. We've done it in the past. You'll see that kind of cooperation, but I believe that we're going to be in the majority.
Oh, it's going to be a very exciting election night, certainly.
Certainly
I plan to drink a lot of coffee.
Yes. I think that's a good idea.
Senator Young, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Okay, great.